Isaac Newton was born in 1643 in England. He became one of the most influential scientists in history. His work laid the foundation for classical mechanics, which is the study of motion. Newton's three laws of motion revolutionized our understanding of how objects move. Newton's laws are simple yet powerful. They explain everything from the motion of planets to the way cars drive on roads. Newton's work shows how mathematics and science can describe the natural world. His laws are still used today in engineering, astronomy, and physics. Newton also made significant contributions to mathematics. He invented calculus, which is a type of mathematics used to study change. Besides his work in physics and math, Newton also studied optics and made discoveries about light and color. In this essay, we will explore Newton's three laws of motion. We will use simple language and real-life examples to make these concepts easy to understand. By the end, you'll see how these laws apply to everyday life. Newton's first law of motion is about inertia. Inertia is the tendency of an object to resist changes in its state of motion. Imagine a soccer ball sitting on the ground. It won't move by itself. If you want to move it, you need to kick it. That's because the ball has inertia. Eventually it will stop because of forces like friction and air resistance. Inertia is why seatbelts are important in cars. When a car stops suddenly, your body wants to keep moving forward. Seatbelts provide the external force needed to stop your body and keep you safe. One common example of the first law of motion is a book on a table. The book stays at rest until you apply a force to move it. If the table is bumped, the book might slide, but it won't fall off unless a strong enough force acts on it. Another example is a skateboarder gliding on a smooth surface. Once the skateboarder pushes off, they continue to roll forward due to inertia. However, eventually, friction and air resistance slow them down. If there were no friction, the skateboarder would keep moving indefinitely. Think about a hockey puck sliding on ice. Ice has very little friction, so the puck slides easily and keeps moving for a long time. This is a great example of the first law of motion in action. The puck only stops when it hits the wall or another player. In everyday life, we see the first law of motion when we stop a bicycle. When you pedal, the bike moves. If you stop pedaling, the bike eventually slows down and stops due to friction. Understanding this law helps us predict and explain these everyday phenomena. Newton's second law of motion explains how force, mass, and acceleration are related. The law is often written as F equals ma, where F is force, m is mass, and a is acceleration. Imagine pushing a shopping cart. If the cart is empty, it's easy to push and it accelerates quickly. But if the cart is full of groceries, it's harder to push and accelerates more slowly. The second law also explains why it's harder to push a car than a bicycle. A car has much more mass than a bicycle. This law helps us understand why different objects require different amounts of force to move. Section 5. Real-life examples of the second law. Consider a baseball pitcher throwing a ball. The pitcher applies a force to the ball, causing it to accelerate. The faster the pitcher throws, the greater the force and the greater the acceleration. This is why professional pitchers can throw balls at very high speeds. Another example is riding a bicycle uphill. You need to apply more force to pedal uphill because gravity is pulling you down. The steeper the hill, the more force you need to apply to maintain your speed. This is a practical application of the second law of motion. Think about a rocket launching into space. The engines provide a tremendous amount of force to overcome the Earth's gravity. As the rocket's mass decreases by burning fuel, it accelerates faster. This shows how force, mass, and acceleration are interconnected. In sports, a soccer player kicking a ball demonstrates the second law. The force of the kick determines how fast and far the ball will travel. A stronger kick applies more force, causing greater acceleration. Understanding this law helps athletes improve their performance. Section 6. The third law of motion, action and reaction. Newton's third law of motion states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This means that forces always come in pairs. When one object exerts a force on another, the second object exerts an equal force in the opposite direction. A simple example is jumping off a boat. When you push down on the boat to jump, the boat pushes you up with an equal force. This is why the boat moves in the opposite direction when you jump. The action and reaction forces are equal and opposite. Rocket propulsion is another example. When a rocket engine expels gas out the back, the rocket moves forward. The action is the force of the gas being expelled, and the reaction is the rocket moving in the opposite direction. This principle allows rockets to travel in space. Think about walking. When you push back on the ground with your foot, the ground pushes you forward with an equal force. This action-reaction pair is what propels you forward. Without this interaction, you wouldn't be able to walk. Section 7. Real-life examples of the third law. Consider a swimmer pushing against the wall of a pool. The wall pushes back with an equal and opposite force, propelling the swimmer forward. This is a clear demonstration of the third law of motion in action. Another example is a bird flying. When a bird flaps its wings, it pushes air downwards. The air pushes back up against the bird's wings with an equal force, allowing the bird to lift off and fly. This action-reaction pair enables birds to soar through the sky. In driving, when a car's tires push back against the road pushes the car forward. This is why cars move. The action of the tires pushing backward creates the reaction of the car moving forward. Understanding this helps us grasp how vehicles operate. Think about sitting in a chair. Your body exerts a downward force on the chair, and the chair exerts an equal upward force on your body. This allows you to sit comfortably without falling. The third law of motion is evident in this everyday interaction. Section 8. Everyday applications of Newton's laws. Newton's laws of motion are not just for scientists, they are part of our daily lives. When you ride a bus, the first law explains why you feel a jolt when it stops suddenly. Your body wants to keep moving forward due to inertia. The second law helps us understand why it's easier to push an empty cart than a full one. It also explains why heavier objects require more force to move. This is useful when carrying groceries or moving furniture. The third law is seen in sports, driving, and even walking. For example, when you play basketball, every time you dribble the ball, the force you apply to the ball is met with an equal force pushing it back up. This helps you control the ball. By understanding these laws, we can predict how objects will move. This knowledge helps engineers design safer cars, build better sports equipment, and create more efficient machinery. Newton's laws are foundational to many aspects of modern life. Section 9. The importance of understanding physics. Understanding Newton's laws of motion is essential for grasping the basics of physics. These laws explain how and why objects move the way they do. They are fundamental principles that apply to almost every aspect of our daily lives. For students, learning about these laws can make science more interesting and relatable. Real-life examples and simple language can help make complex concepts easier to understand. This makes learning fun and engaging. For professionals such as engineers and scientists, these laws are crucial. They use Newton's laws to develop new technologies, improve existing ones, and solve practical problems. These laws are the foundation upon which much of modern science and engineering are built. In conclusion, Newton's 3 laws of motion are vital to our understanding of the physical world. They explain the behavior of objects in motion and at rest. By learning these laws, we can better understand and navigate the world around us.